Hey y'all, I'm going to try to run through this just as quick as I can. It's December 20th, it's Sunday. We're out here in the garage messing around. Why am I showing you the new kart? Well, the new car, this is going to be the new 125, the Daytona kart, the long track kart, long wheelbase, really primarily just to put our best motor on to go to Daytona. When I got my kart from Scott Fiesler, the car had tabs, thick, heavy tabs, but the tabs welded on it, just like an Anderson chassis does, and the engine articulated to tighten the chain, right? Because it was a Honda. Those things kept breaking, and I had put my Honda on it when I got it. So when we went to the ICC engine, I took tubing. I made stepped bushings, solid steel step bushings with a 3/8 hole in the middle, and cut off all the other stuff that was under and welded these right to the chassis, right? And what we're going to do is use them on what we've got here, what we're using now, which is this crazy looking motor mount. We got one in the front, one in the back. Obviously the one in the back is not nearly this long. This one is that long to get past the carburetor and everything. But the tube welded to the chassis fits like so. Then you've got a big long bolt that goes through it, so the whole engine slides back and forth on two of those, right? Problem is, with the RVS, the motor that's on the kart now, you see the angle of this thing, and it's already sitting on a piece of 1/4-inch stock. This one's sitting flat down on the bench, and you already see the height difference we've got here, right? And we've also, if this thing wasn't angled like it was, we'd have a really big problem with the float bowl clearance, clearing the motor, that motor mount. The motor mount on the other car has a big half-round cutout in it here to make sure we clear. And one of the issues I've already told you about is how do we can't even get the bolts out of the intake with that motor mount still connected to the engine, and that's been a problem. I mean, it's quicker to check the reads in the motor by draining the water, pulling the cylinder off, than it is to try to remove it from the cart, remove the rear, lift the motor up, remove the two bolts that hold this mount to the bottom, to the bosses on the bottom of the engine, and then be able to get the reed cage out and check it out. So it's design flaw on my part, maybe. Why did I do it this way? It puts the engine right down low. I mean, right down low, much lower, a good 3/4 of an inch to an inch lower than the stock standard poured or cast aluminum bit that bolts to the bottom of these motors, and then it sits on a chassis, then the butterflies come up from underneath. One thing I don't like about the butterfly system is you get a wheel off the track, which if you're racing, you're going to get off the track sooner or later. I mean, if you're pushing it, if you're on it, and it tears up those butterflies. And sometimes I've seen a CIK sprint kart guy literally catch one of those butterflies on the edge of the track or something trying to come back on the track and literally rip one of them halfway off, bending the bolt, ending his weekend. So I want to stay away from that. And you got to put a big hole in your floor tray to access those butterflies and give clearance so the engine can move and slide back and forth to tighten the chain. So the issue we have here with using the big carb, and we're not going to be able to do it, at least not this way, not this carb, on the RVS, is we add 3/4 of an inch at the bolt circle, and we're almost making contact with that motor mount already. We put this carburetor here, and we're in trouble. We're going to be into even if you've got to rotate it or something so you can get to the needles. I mean, we got a clearance problem here, folks. Won't have that issue up here, right? I mean, we put it up on here. We had a 3/4-inch plate here, and we put the carburetor on. We're good to go. The only issue we're going to have with this one here is clearing that clutch cable. We want to be able to get to those needles. That's the whole point of an adjustable carb. We don't want the cable getting into our throttle at all. So we may end up turning it all the way up sideways. There's a pump carb. It'll run in any, sorry about the camera, it'll run in any orientation, so it's not an issue. So if we're going to go with a big carb on the RVS, we're going to have to do it this way. We're going to have to, this is a stock standard isolator from the VL, from the original motor. The cases that are on the cart now have been modified. I hand modified the intake track of the old motor, which was the hole was literally half this size, to fit the RVS reeds and make it a bit quicker. We ran it in the VL 125 being the original ICC homologation for Vortex, and the RVS being the second. So from the same castings, different reed cage. The VL literally had a 100cc reed cage in it, whereas they learned from that first one and started hopping this thing up. And they've made improvements every homologation since then. So if we're going to go with a bigger carb on the RVS, we're going to have to do it float bowl wise with a Delorto more than likely, because it'll bolt right up and we won't have any clearance issues. For the Vortex, for the RVXX, we can obviously go the direction that we wanted to go with the big pump carburetor and give it a try. So if you look at the reed cage itself, you see the conveyor there, or the stuffer, that raised lip or line on the seal there of the isolator has left a nice little ring right around there. Tells you, and folks, you're not going to believe how this all worked out. I took the caliper, I measured the backside of the carburetor and got like 38.7 or so. Okay, it's on English, but it's literally the I'm sorry with the camera. It's literally the same size as that seal, that raised seal section there, right? So because we're not going to use this, but we did use it as a guide. We used it as a guide to mark these holes. It also left an impression. The larger hole here, that's right. Same size, same size, same size. So what we're going to end up having to do with this this conveyor deal, right, is we're going to leave. Let me pull it out. It's got a split, right? It's to split the air to top reed, bottom reed. So we're going to leave a bunch of this here and come right on out to that hole and open it up, right? So we're going to leave a little lip there, and we'll work it in. Obviously, I got to make sure I can get a new one of these, because we really don't want to get into making the silicone mold of this if we can get another one. And this one here with the RVS can wait. If we're going to just stay with what we've got right now for short tracks, like say a Grattan, Mid-Ohio, that little RVS is plenty fast enough to run with the guys we would run with here at a Mid-Ohio, certainly at Grattan, Gingerman, I think even Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh doesn't have a big long straightaway, so they got a couple medium long straightaways, but nothing long like a Road America or a Road Atlanta or anything like that, where the big carb and stuff is going to really come into play. Our little motor's pretty quick. I mean, for being as old as it is, and being a first homologation that we modified ourselves, which is completely legal for the class I'm in. We stack up pretty well with what's out there running around. So we'll leave that package all as one. We'll leave the TS chassis with the RVS motor. This engine we're going to try with the big carb and the big pipe on the new chassis for Daytona. And although we're not going to go to Daytona to test it, if we can get her done in April, we'll get it to Grattan, which I doubt, but we'll definitely get it to one of the races this summer, and use a second day, a Sunday or whatever, a Friday practice day, and run the TS kart with the RVS VL package one day, and then the second day we'll use for testing with the other kart when it's ready to go. So that's it. That's what we got going. We're going to start by boring this thing out. We'll probably go with a 1-inch hole saw, and it's going to end up being bigger than an inch, if you've used hole saw, especially in steel or aluminum. The hole ends up being bigger, just like a drill bit, right? When you drill a hole, it says 5/16. The hole's always bigger than 5/16. So, we'll bore it out first, and then we'll ease it on down. We're going to have to, before too long, we're going to have to clamp this thing on. We're going to have to use the transfer punches there and transfer those and get those drilled, so we know where this is going to, where this through hole is going to be for surely located as to the relation to this here. We don't want this one, this hole and this hole literally doing this, right? I mean, obviously I'm exaggerating on the amount, but we got to start somewhere. We don't want to start with this. We really want to start with this. So that's what we're going to do. We'll bore this out, and then we'll start inching our way out to what we've got, right? Probably should be real close to what we got just by running a 1-inch hole saw through it. And then we'll start, you know, tuning this up, and we'll check it. We'll put the bolt holes in here, and we'll slip it on, and we'll check it, and we'll pull it off, and we'll work on it. We'll check it when it gets close. We'll probably take the whole reed cage and everything out, and remove the reeds and the whole 9 yards, and make sure that you know, put some maybe tape off the inside of the motor, keep any debris from getting inside the engine, because it's all new, it's all fresh, and we'll literally match one to the other, and that'll be final tuning. But that's where we're at. Why am I playing with this today? Because I got half the paint booth up and running, and my back is killing me, folks. That thing killed me yesterday, climbing up and down off this. I mean, it doesn't seem like too big a step, but when you don't have any flexibility in your bottom two vertebrae, they're literally one. That's hard on you after a while, but we got her up, and we just got to put a back wall in it, a front wall in it with a little doorway, and we'll get to painting some of this stuff here in the next few days. But until then, I figured out why waste an afternoon, right? Between church in the morning, church in the evening, figured I'd get out and start working on this this intake for RVXX and bring you the bad news about how we're not going to be able to make one for the RVS. But that's it. That's what we got going today. It's out here out in the garage playing around. We'll bring you some more when we got something to show you. Thanks for hanging in there, folks. Keep your chin up.